You're standing by the kitchen window, coffee cooling in your hands, watching the sunrise paint your neighborhood in soft orange. There's a notebook on the counter, the same one that's been there for 3 months. Inside it, 17 different versions of the same plan. 17 attempts to map out the perfect way forward. You take a sip of the lukewarm coffee and wonder when you became someone who needs permission from certainty to move. When did being ready become more important than simply being brave? Morning joggers pass by down the street, their breath visible in the crisp air. None of them look like they were born ready to run. They just run. With worn-out sneakers, tired legs, muscles still sore from yesterday's run. But they run. And you? You're standing there, waiting for a manual that will never come. A perfect moment that doesn't exist. A version of yourself that only shows up after you've already begun. The truth is, you don't need to be ready to start. In fact, you never will be. And that's not a problem, it's the human condition. That's how things actually work. Think about the first time you drove alone. Your hands trembling on the wheel, heart racing at every turn. You weren't ready, but it was precisely because you weren't ready that you actually learned how to drive. It was in the shock of that first sudden brake, the tension of your first parallel park, the discovery that you could get from point A to point B without dying. That's when you became a driver. It wasn't from endlessly studying the traffic laws. It wasn't from memorizing every rule. It was from putting the key in the ignition with your stomach in knots and finding out that even scared, you could do it. The world doesn't wait for our readiness. It moves, breathes, happens, whether we're prepared or not. Opportunities don't knock on your door asking if you're done getting ready. They pass by, and sometimes they don't come back. There's a quiet lie we've learned to believe, that preparation protects us from failure. That if we study enough, if we plan every detail, if we have all the answers, then and only then it will be safe to take the first step. But here's what no one tells you. Infinite preparation is just fear disguised as responsibility. You know the feeling. Spinning in circles around your own life, organizing, reorganizing, making lists of lists, waiting for the magical moment when everything will perfectly align. Buying one more course, reading one more book, watching one more tutorial, always almost ready, always just needing one more thing. That moment doesn't exist. Life happens in imperfection, in awkward attempts, in that first shaky step taken with your heart in your throat and your knees trembling. That's where courage lives, not in the absence of fear, but in the decision to move despite it. There's a brutal difference between preparing for something and hiding behind preparation. One brings you closer to the goal, the other keeps you forever distant from it, but with the comforting illusion that you're doing something. Think about the people you admire, the ones who built something meaningful, who created, who took risks. Did they start ready, or did they just start? The writer began writing before knowing how the story would end, and found the ending in the middle of the process. In the sleepless nights when no words came, in the pages she deleted and rewrote 1,000 times. The entrepreneur launched the business before having all the answers, and learned about management, about people, about himself during the crises no business book could prepare him for. The artist painted the first canvas without knowing if he had talent, and discovered his unique voice precisely in the pieces he considered flawed. They didn't wait for readiness. They built readiness along the way. And you? How many ideas are asleep in the drawer of your mind, waiting for a when I'm ready that might never come? How many dreams are shelved, waiting for a braver, more prepared, more perfect version of who you are? How many times have you said, I need to study more, I need more experience, I need more money, I need more time? As if there were some future moment when all those planets would magically align and you'd finally feel safe enough to start. The uncomfortable truth is this: you already have everything you need to begin. Maybe not everything you need to finish, or to succeed, or to be perfect. But to start, you do. You have your unique experiences. Your failures, which taught you resilience. Your fears, which can teach you courage. Your particular perspective on the world, one that no one else has. You have your hands, your mind, your ability to try. But there's something deeper here. Infinite preparation isn't just about fear of failure, it's about fear of discovery. Fear of finding out who you really are when it's time to act. Fear of facing your real limits, your real abilities. Because as long as you're still preparing, you can hold on to the fantasy that you're capable of anything. But when you take action, you discover what you're actually made of. And sometimes that discovery is scarier than failure itself. There's a fundamental difference between being ready and being willing. Being ready suggests a state of completeness, total preparation, as if there's a moment when you finally arrive and can start from a place of strength and certainty. Being willing suggests openness, a readiness to learn through the process. It means having the humility to not know, the courage to make mistakes, and the wisdom to grow along the way. You don't need to be ready. You need to be willing. Willing to fail. Willing to not have all the answers. Willing to discover your strength along the way, not before the journey begins. Willing to be judged by those who never tried. Willing to disappoint those who expect perfection. Willing to surprise yourself. Because here's the secret life whispers to those brave enough to listen. You don't discover who you are in the safety of theory. You discover who you are in the urgency of practice. You learn to walk by walking. You find success by stumbling. You become who you need to be by starting before you're ready. Imperfect action has a power that perfect preparation never will. It puts you in direct contact with reality. It teaches you what works and what doesn't. It reveals where you're strong and where you need to grow. It connects you with others on the same path, people who also started before they felt ready. The world doesn't need your perfection. The world needs your honest effort, your unique contribution, your imperfect way of making a difference. There's a strange kind of beauty in the unfinished, in the imperfect, in what is still becoming. The most beautiful song you've ever heard was probably recorded by someone still learning how to sing. The book that changed your life was written by someone who doubted their own words. The person who inspired you most is likely still figuring out who they are. Why does this matter? Because that's where our humanity lives. In the vulnerability of not knowing, in the courage to try anyway, in the honesty of showing the process, not just the result. When you wait to be ready, you're waiting to present yourself as a finished product. Polished, flawless. But people don't connect with products. They connect with processes, with the journey, with the honest struggle of someone who's trying, just like they are. Your imperfection isn't a flaw, it's what makes you human. Your uncertainty isn't weakness, it's what makes you real. Your willingness to begin before you're ready isn't irresponsibility, it's courage. The notebook is still on the counter, 17 versions of the same plan, waiting for the 18th. But what if you just closed the notebook and took the first step? What if the 18th version writes itself while you're busy living? So if you've been waiting to be ready to begin, maybe it's time to ask a different question. Not, am I ready? But, am I willing? Not, do I have everything I need? But, can I take the first step with what I have right now? Because life doesn't happen in preparation. It happens in action, in trying, in imperfect movement toward what truly matters to you. And maybe, just maybe, starting before you're ready is exactly what will show you that you've always been stronger, more capable, and more prepared than you ever thought. The choice, as always, is yours. If this message spoke to you in any way, leave a like so more people can find it. And in the comments, tell me, what's that one thing you've been putting off because you don't feel ready? Sometimes sharing it is the very first step we needed to take.